A billionaire lay on a hospital bed, surrounded by machines, doctors, and unbearable silence. Every test had failed. Every hope had been broken. Until one day, a poor village woman walked in, barefoot, and changed everything. What did she know that gave her power over death itself? Who was this humble soul, and how did she save a life when millions of dollars could not? Sit back, breathe in. Let this story find your heart. The Billionaire's Descent. Lagos is loud, but on this day, the loudest sound was inside a private wing of a famous teaching hospital in the heart of the city. Doctors moved quietly. Nurses whispered. Family members cried behind closed doors. Everyone was heading toward one room, the room of a man who once controlled markets and appointed board chairman. His name was Thabo Okeke. Thabo was not an ordinary man. His name appeared on every serious business list in West Africa. He had built a media empire from scratch with his wife, Naledi. Their nameplate in Victoria Island gleamed like a mirror. For almost 20 years, Thabo and Naledi built wealth, raised children, and held influence. They had a beautiful home, 2 well-fed dogs, and friends in every embassy. But tonight, none of that mattered. Thabo lay flat on his back, his chest barely moving. A sickness had come without warning. It was not cancer. It was not a stroke. It was not anything the doctors could identify. Hour by hour, his body weakened. An attending physician stood beside the bed, his eyes on the monitor. A second doctor checked Thabo's eyes with a small torchlight. A nurse held a thick file of test results. After a long silence, the senior doctor finally spoke. "This case is strange," he said, almost whispering. Naledi stood at the foot of the bed. Her eyes were swollen from years of crying. "What do you mean, strange?" she asked. The doctor lowered his eyes. "We've run every diagnostic we know. His blood, his organs, his brain. Nothing explains why his body is failing." Naledi's breath became shaky. "Are you telling me you cannot find the sickness inside my husband's body?" The doctor looked at his shoes. "We're trying." Another doctor added, "We've even sent his samples to a partner laboratory in London and another one in Johannesburg." Naledi's heart sank. For months, they had moved from one hospital to another. General hospitals, specialty clinics, foreign consultations. All gave the same answer. "We don't know what is making him sick." Thabo tried to open his mouth. His voice came out like wind on dry leaves. "Naledi." She stepped closer. "I'm here, my love. Please, don't give up." She kissed his forehead. "I never will." But in her heart, fear was growing teeth. Days became weeks. New tests, new specialists, new silence. Then, one rainy afternoon, Thabo's personal physician asked to speak privately with Naledi. They stood by a tall window overlooking the Lagos Lagoon. "I must be honest with you," the doctor began. "We have done everything within our power." Naledi's face went pale. "What are you saying?" "Maybe it's time to take him home. Sometimes the body responds better in a familiar place. The heart heals when the surroundings feel like family." Naledi wiped her eyes. "You mean he's going to die?" The doctor looked at the floor. "I mean, we have run out of options." 2 days later, Thabo left the hospital by wheelchair. His mansion, once filled with laughter and music, now felt like a grave. Even lifting a spoon had become impossible for him. Most days he lay still, watching the ceiling fan spin in slow motion. One evening, tears slid silently down his cheeks as Naledi sat beside him. "Please don't cry," she whispered. "You'll come back stronger, I promise." But Thabo's voice was now only a whisper. He could barely say his wife's name. The sickness was winning. Slowly, quietly. Thabo had once been the kind of man who closed billion-dollar deals before lunch. Now his biggest achievement was lifting his hand off the bed. Naledi was breaking too, but she had an empire to keep alive. Board meetings, staff issues, government audits, letters of credit. She couldn't sit beside him every hour of the day. One morning, she sat at the breakfast table with the family doctor. "You'll need extra hands," he said. "Not just anyone. Someone patient, someone gentle, someone who can stay for months." Naledi nodded slowly. "Then I'll hire that person today." She didn't know it yet. That single decision was about to change everything. On the other side of Lagos, far from Victoria Island, far from the mangrove waters, far from polished floors, a small Danfo bus stopped at a noisy junction in Yaba. The door creaked open. People poured out, one after another. Among them was a young woman holding a small leather bag. Her name was Amara Obi. She stepped down slowly, looking around at the noise and motion. Cars honked. Traders argued. Generator sounds roared from outdoor shops. Amara slipped her hand into her pocket and pulled out a small, torn paper. An address was written on it in a familiar handwriting. "Adeze said her apartment is near this junction," she whispered to herself. Amara had never been to Lagos before. Just a few weeks earlier, she had been living in a quiet village in Ebonyi State. Her world was simple. Her grandfather was the only family she had ever known. Old Man Obi was famous in that village. He didn't just farm yams, he healed. People came from neighboring villages when they were sick. He used roots, leaves, bark, and river mud. Some of his medicines were so bitter they made grown men cry. But they worked. Amara had been his right hand since she was small. She carried the leaves. She fetched the water. She grinded the herbs in a wooden mortar. She asked many questions. "Grandfather, how do you know which leaf will heal which sickness?" The old man would smile with one missing tooth. "My child, the forest has a library. You only need the patience to read it." For years, that was their life. Calm, peaceful, beautiful in its silence. But then, a sickness came that no herb could touch. His own sickness. Aging. One morning, he called her to his bedside. "Amara?" "Yes, grandfather." "I have taught you everything I can. Now, life will teach you the rest." Within a week, he was gone. Amara felt the ground disappear under her feet. During the burial, neighbors came to comfort her. Among them was her childhood friend, Adeze. Adeze had left their village years before to find work in Lagos. She came back only to mourn her old neighbor. After the burial, Adeze sat beside Amara under a cashew tree. "You cannot stay here alone," Adeze said. "Where will I go?" Amara asked. "Come with me to Lagos. There is work there. There is life there. I have a small room. It's enough for two." Amara did not answer immediately. The village was the only world she knew. But she also knew something else. There was nothing left for her there. She told Adeze she would think about it. A few days later, Adeze left, but before she left, she wrote her address on a small piece of paper. "In case you change your mind," she said. 1 month passed. Then 2. Finally, Amara stood in the doorway of her grandfather's house one last time and whispered, "Goodbye." She closed the door behind her and started walking to the road. Now she stood in Lagos, holding the same paper. She approached a young man walking fast. "Excuse me, brother, do you know this address?" The man looked at the paper. "Yes, so. Walk down this road, take the second turning on your left. You will see a yellow gate." "Thank you," Amara said. After 10 minutes, she stood in front of a modest building. She checked the number on the paper against the number on the wall. "Yes, this is the one." She knocked. The door opened slightly. Adeze peeped out, then gasped. "Amara! Adeze!" They hugged like two sisters who had been separated for years. "Welcome, welcome, come inside." The room was small. A single fan, a small mattress, a gas cooker in the corner. It was not much, but it was alive. Adeze smiled. "I know it's small, but we will manage." Amara placed her bag on the floor. "It's more than enough. Thank you, sister." That night, Amara lay on the mattress and stared at the ceiling. Her heart was heavy. But small hope refused to leave. "Grandfather," she whispered, "I hope I will make you proud." The next morning, Adeze woke Amara early. "We have to go and register you at the home care agency. They help good women find houses that need them." "Are they honest?" Amara asked. "They are fair. Come, let us go." They walked through the early morning crowds of Lagos until they reached a clean 2-story building with a sign. The sign read, "Royal Home Care and Domestic Services." Adeze pointed. "This is the place." Inside, a middle-aged woman sat behind a polished desk. "Good morning. How may I help you?" Adeze spoke first. "My sister is looking for work." The woman smiled. "Sit down, please. State your name." "Amara Obi." "What kind of work can you do?" "I can cook, I can clean, I can take care of sick people, I can compound herbs." The woman raised an eyebrow. "Herbs?" "Yes, ma. I learnt from my late grandfather. He was a healer." The woman's face lit up. "That is a good skill. Let me note it down." After a short interview, Amara left the agency with a small card and a smile. "Your name is in our register now. When a home calls, we will call you first." "Thank you, ma." Adeze squeezed her hand. "You see, Lagos will bless you." Meanwhile, in a tall mansion in Ikoyi, Noledi Okeke picked up her office phone. "I need a personal care maid urgently. My husband is very ill. The person must be calm. She must be patient. She must be willing to stay." "Not a problem, madam. We have good hands. We will send someone today." "Thank you. Please send someone gentle. My husband, he suffers in silence." A few hours later, Amara's phone rang. A woman's voice on the other end spoke with calm authority. "This is Royal Home Care. We have an urgent job. Can you come to our office this morning?" Amara held her breath. Then, "Yes, ma, I will come." She ended the call and walked into the small kitchen. "Adeze!" "Yes?" "They called me." Adeze raised her hands in the air. "I told you, light comes to those who trust." Amara smiled for the first time since she lost her grandfather. She changed her dress. She tied her wrapper neatly. She checked her face in a small mirror. She was ready. At the agency, the woman at the desk handed her a brown envelope. "Open it," she said. Inside was an address in Ikoyi. This is the home where you will work. The family is wealthy. The husband is very sick. The wife is busy with business. You will be the steady hand that holds the house together. Amara nodded quietly. I understand, Ma. You may go today to meet the madam. If she accepts you, your work begins tomorrow. Thank you, Ma. Amara took a bus to Ikoyi. She had never been to Ikoyi before. The streets were quiet. The houses were tall. The gates were polished. She stopped in front of a black gate with gold letters spelling Okeke. A guard opened a small window. Yes? Good afternoon, sir. I am Amara. I was sent by the home care agency. The guard took the letter, read it carefully, and made a phone call. After 1 minute, the gate opened. Please, come in. Amara walked toward the main house. The compound was large. The garden had trimmed mango trees. The fountain was silent. A house girl in uniform met her at the door. You must be the lady from the agency. Yes, Ma. Please, follow me. She led her into a big study room. Behind a mahogany desk sat a woman in expensive but tired clothes. Her eyes were red. Her face was heavy. But she stood up with grace. Good afternoon, madam, Amara said. Good afternoon. What is your name? Amara Obi. I am Naledi Okeke. Amara bowed her head slightly. Nice to meet you, Ma. Naledi looked at her carefully. This job will not be easy, Amara. My husband is very sick. The doctors say they do not know what is killing him. He cannot move. He cannot speak well. Even sitting on his own has become impossible. Amara listened. You will feed him. You will bathe him. You will give him water. You will adjust his pillow. You will treat him like family. If anything changes, you call me. Amara answered calmly. I will do my best, madam. You will work only during the day. I will take over every night. That is fine, Ma. Then you may start tomorrow. Thank you, madam. Deliver the entire narration in a single, consistent James voice, dramatic and cinematic, with a slightly fast storytelling pace and minimal pauses. Amara returned to Adeze's room that evening with a face that mixed relief and weight. So? Adeze asked. I got the job. Adeze screamed. Chai! God is faithful! Later that night, Amara lay on the mat, but she was not sleeping. Her mind kept returning to the man she had only seen from a distance. What kind of sickness can make a strong man so weak? She whispered to herself. One thought refused to leave. Tomorrow, when she was close to him, she would look closer. She would study his eyes, his skin, his breath, his hands. She would not be a doctor, but she was the granddaughter of a healer. Healing lived in her blood. The next morning, she arrived at the Okeke mansion by 7:30 a.m. Good morning, sir, she greeted the gatekeeper with a smile. He nodded. Work hard today. Yes, sir. She walked into the house. She climbed the stairs carefully. She opened the door to the master bedroom. There, on the king-sized bed, lay Thabo Okeke. His body was thin. His chest rose slowly. His eyes opened slightly when he heard the door. Amara walked closer with slow steps. Good morning, sir. I am Amara. I will be taking care of you today. Thabo's eyes followed her. He could not speak, but his look said, Be gentle. Amara began her work. She adjusted his pillow. She cleaned his face with a warm towel. She fed him small spoonfuls of pap with honey. She gave him water from a small cup. She did not speak much. She let the silence do its work. But as days passed, she started to observe him closely. She noticed his hands never moved. She noticed his legs stayed still like wet wood. She noticed a soft rattle in his breath when he tried to speak. She noticed a thin white line under his tongue. One afternoon, while he was sleeping, she stood by the window and whispered, "These signs, I have seen them before." Her mind traveled back to Ebonyi. Years ago, the village chief had called her grandfather to treat a hunter who had collapsed in the bush. That hunter could not move his body. His voice was gone. His eyes were open but dim. Everyone thought he would die. But her grandfather went into the forest with her. "Amara, come." "Why, grandfather?" "Because we need the leaf that does not grow near the road." "What leaf is it?" "It is called the leaf of the silent body. Once you boil it with the brown root and the river stone, the sick one will move again." She remembered how she assisted him. She remembered how, after 7 days, the hunter sat up. After 2 weeks, the hunter walked home. Now, standing beside Thabo's bed, the memory came back like thunder. "The signs are the same," she whispered. But she shook her head. "No, Amara, you just started work. These are rich people. You cannot rush. You cannot embarrass yourself." She kept quiet. She continued her work, but the seed was already planted in her mind. Days passed. Then one evening, Naledi came home earlier than usual. She walked into the bedroom. Amara was still there, adjusting Thabo's sheets. "How was he today?" Naledi asked. "He was calm, madam. He ate a little. He tried to speak once." Naledi's eyes filled with fresh tears. "Thank you for your patience, Amara." Amara hesitated for a moment. Then she gathered courage. "Madam, may I say something?" Naledi turned to her. "Yes?" Amara lowered her head slightly. "I may be wrong, but I think I know something about this sickness." Naledi's whole body turned to her at once. For months, she had heard strange news, hopeful news, hopeless news. Now, a simple village woman wanted to speak to her about medicine? "What do you mean?" Naledi asked slowly. Amara spoke with care. "In the village where I grew up, an old hunter had this exact sickness. Same signs, same silence, same weakness." Naledi's breath caught. "The same signs?" "Yes, madam." "What happened to him?" "My grandfather treated him." Naledi's eyes widened. "Your grandfather?" "Yes, madam. He was a healer. He used herbs, roots, and leaves." "What did he do exactly?" "He boiled a special leaf with a brown root. The hunter drank it. His body slowly returned." Naledi's hands began to shake. "What was the name of the leaf?" "I don't know the English name, madam, but I know where it grows. I know where to find it." Naledi stared at her husband. Then she stared at Amara. "Are you sure the signs are the same?" "Yes, madam. They are the same." Naledi walked to the window. She placed her hands on the sill. She stared out at the city. Doctors had failed. Machines had failed. Foreign opinions had failed. What if a village healer is right? She did not speak. She just stood there. Then she whispered, "You may go home now, Amara." Amara bowed. "Yes, madam." She left quietly. Naledi stood alone. She placed her hands on her head. What do I do? She sat at her desk. She thought about the millions she had spent, the hospitals, the flights, the tests. And then she whispered to herself, maybe this is the chance we've been waiting for. The next morning, Naledi called Amara into her study. Please, sit down. Amara sat. I have thought about what you said yesterday. Yes, madam? The doctors still have no answer. I have decided to try your grandfather's herbs. Amara's eyes widened. Thank you, madam. How can we get them? They grow in the forest near my village, madam. Naledi nodded. We will arrange a car today. You must leave early tomorrow morning and return as soon as possible. I will, madam. The next morning, before the sun had fully woken, a driver picked Amara up from Adaze's house. They drove through Lagos, then through Benin City, then through Enugu, then onward to the village. Hours passed. The roads narrowed. The buildings grew fewer. Trees took over. By afternoon, they reached Ebonyi. Amara walked alone into the forest. She remembered the path her grandfather used to walk. After some time, she found the leaf, small, dark green, with a tiny white flower underneath. She knelt and pulled several stems. She also pulled the brown root from under a tree. Grandfather, she whispered, please let this heal the man. By afternoon, the driver turned the car back toward Lagos. By night, they reached the mansion again. Naledi was waiting by the gate. You are back? Yes, madam. Did you find them? Yes. Amara opened the bag. Naledi saw the leaves. She saw the roots. She didn't know if they were medicine or madness. But she had no other door to knock on. They went to the kitchen. Amara washed the herbs. She crushed the leaves. She boiled them with the root in clean water. Soon, the kitchen smelled like the forest at sunrise. She poured a small cup of the dark liquid. Then she said, Madam, I will give him this every morning. I will rub some of the mixture on his joints every night. For how long? 3 days, madam. If there is any small change, we continue. If nothing happens, we stop. Naledi looked at her husband through the kitchen door. 3 days. She closed her eyes. Please, Lord. That night, they fed Thabo the dark liquid. Amara rubbed the warm mixture on his knees, his elbows, his ankles. She whispered prayers her grandfather had taught her. The first day passed. Nothing seemed to change. The family doctor came the next morning and frowned at what he saw. Mrs. Okeke, please be careful with unknown herbs. Some herbs can damage the liver. Naledi spoke with calm authority. It is only 3 days, doctor. Please allow us to try. He shook his head and left. The second day passed. Still silence. Still no change. The nurses finished their shift. Naledi slept lightly beside Thabo. Then, at 2:30 a.m., a small sound broke the silence. Naledi. She opened her eyes. Thabo was looking at her. His voice was weak, but it was him. Naledi, I need water. For 1 second, she could not breathe. For weeks, Thabo had barely spoken. Now he was asking for water, by name. She jumped up. Yes, yes, my love. She ran to the kitchen and returned with a glass. He drank slowly. Tears ran down her face like rain on a hot afternoon. "Thank God," she whispered. The next morning, she called Amara into the study. "Amara, last night he spoke." Amara smiled softly. "That is a good sign, madam." "Then we continue." "Yes, madam." Weeks passed. First, Thabo could move his fingers. Then he could lift his arms. Then he could sit up with help. Then came the day he asked, "Bring me a crutch." Amara supported him. He stood. He smiled in pain. "I am standing, Naledi." "I can see it, my love." Then, weeks later, he dropped the crutch. He used a walking stick. Then, one morning, he stood in the living room, alone, tall. He took one step, then another. Naledi froze. She covered her mouth. "Thabo, you are walking, without the stick." He smiled slowly. "Yes, love, I am." She ran to him and held him tight. "This is a miracle." A few days later, Naledi called a few doctors from the teaching hospital to the house. "Please come and meet the young woman who turned my husband's health around." The doctors came. They sat in the living room. They interviewed Amara. They asked her about the herbs, the roots, the boiling time. One senior doctor shook his head in disbelief. "We ran every test for months. We consulted specialists abroad. And the cure was in a small leaf in ebony." Another doctor smiled. "Sometimes Western medicine has blind spots." Amara sat quietly, her hands on her knees. A week later, the same hospital invited Amara to a small ceremony. They gave her an honorary award for helping solve a medical mystery. They also gave her a cash reward for her service. Amara held the envelope with both hands. She didn't open it for a long moment. Instead, she walked back to Adeze's house. When Adeze opened the door, she was holding a small loaf of bread. "Amara." Amara handed her the envelope. "What is this?" "Open it, sister." Adeze opened it. Her eyes widened. "Amara, what is this money for?" "For the nights you fed me, for the mornings you encouraged me, for the home you gave me when I had no home." Tears rolled down Adeze's face. "Sister, I only did what was right. That is why I am giving you what is right back." They hugged. Inside the Okeke mansion, Thabo also had plans that evening. During dinner, he asked Amara, "What is your dream?" She put down her spoon. "To study medicine, to become a doctor one day, to save lives in honor of my late grandfather." Thabo looked at Naledi. Their eyes agreed without words. A few weeks later, they made calls to universities. They contacted lawyers. They opened a trust account in Amara's name. One evening, Naledi called Amara into the living room. "Amara, sit down." "Yes, madam?" "You have been accepted into the University of Lagos College of Medicine." Amara's hands covered her mouth. Thabo continued. "We have also opened a trust fund in your name. By the time you finish, it will be enough to build a small clinic." Amara could not speak. Her tears answered for her. "Sir, madam, I don't know how to thank you." Naledi smiled. "You already thanked us the day you came to work in this house." They also gave her another surprise. "You will move into the guest wing. You are part of this family now." A driver will take you to school every morning." Amara bowed her head. "Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam." She walked out of the room with tears running freely down her face. Months passed. Amara's life moved in a beautiful new direction. She studied, she attended lectures, she wore a new pair of shoes every term. One afternoon, she sat in the back seat of the SUV on her way home from class. She looked through the window at the city, the same Lagos, the same sun, the same honking horns. But her world was different. She had arrived in Lagos with nothing but a small bag and a torn paper. Now she had a uniform, a future, and a family she never expected. She pressed her palm against the glass and whispered, "Grandfather, I kept my promise." A tear fell down her cheek, but this time it was a tear of joy. Dear friends, if a simple village woman could save a billionaire, what can a simple prayer do for you? Don't despise where you come from. Don't count yourself out because you have no certificate. Today, wisdom lives in quiet places. Your time is coming. Please subscribe and turn on your notifications. Tomorrow's story will shake something inside you. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs hope today. Like it, comment it, spread it. Until next time, be kind to yourself. The world is not finished with you. A few days later, Naledi called a few doctors from the teaching hospital to the house. "Please, come and meet the young woman who turned my husband's health around." The doctors came. They sat in the living room. They interviewed Amara. They asked her about the herbs, the roots, the boiling time. One senior doctor shook his head in disbelief. "We ran every test for months. We consulted specialists abroad. And the cure was in a small leaf in ebony?" Another doctor smiled. "Sometimes Western medicine has blind spots." Amara sat quietly, her hands on her knees. A week later, the same hospital invited Amara to a small ceremony. They gave her an honorary award for helping solve a medical mystery. They also gave her a cash reward for her service. Amara held the envelope with both hands. She didn't open it for a long moment. Instead, she walked back to Adeze's house. When Adeze opened the door, she was holding a small loaf of bread. "Amara?" Amara handed her the envelope. "What is this?" "Open it, sister." Adeze opened it. Her eyes widened. "Amara, what is this money for?" "For the nights you fed me, for the mornings you encouraged me, for the home you gave me when I had no home." Tears rolled down Adeze's face. "Sister, I only did what was right. That is why I am giving you what is right back." They hugged. Inside the Okeke mansion, Thabo also had plans. That evening, during dinner, he asked, "Amara, what is your dream?" She put down her spoon. "To study medicine, to become a doctor one day, to save lives in honor of my late grandfather." Thabo looked at Naledi. Their eyes agreed without words. A few weeks later, they made calls to universities. They contacted lawyers. They opened a trust account in Amara's name. One evening, Naledi called Amara into the living room. "Amara, sit down." "Yes, madam." "You have been accepted into the University of Lagos College of Medicine." Amara's hands covered her mouth. Thabo continued, "We have also opened a trust fund in your name. By the time you finish, it will be enough to build a small clinic." Amara could not speak. Her tears answered for her. "Sir, madam, I don't know how to thank you." Naledi smiled. "You already thanked us the day you came to work in this house." They also gave her another surprise. "You will move into the guest wing. You are part of this family now. A driver will take you to school every morning." Amara bowed her head. "Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam." She walked out of the room with tears running freely down her face. Months passed. Amara's life moved in a beautiful new direction. She studied. She attended lectures. She wore a new pair of shoes every term. One afternoon, she sat in the back seat of the SUV on her way home from class. She looked through the window at the city. The same Lagos, the same sun, the same honking horns. But her world was different. She had arrived in Lagos with nothing but a small bag and a torn paper. Now she had a uniform, a future, and a family she never expected. She pressed her palm against the glass and whispered, "Grandfather, I kept my promise." A tear fell down her cheek, but this time it was a tear of joy. Narrate this entire passage in a single, consistent James voice. Dramatic and cinematic storytelling style, slightly fast pace, with minimal pauses and smooth flow throughout. Dear friends, if a simple village woman could save a billionaire, what can a simple prayer do for you? Don't despise where you come from. Don't count yourself out because you have no certificate today. Wisdom lives in quiet places. Your time is coming. Please subscribe and turn on your notifications. Tomorrow's story will shake something inside you. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs hope today. Like it, comment it, spread it. Until next time, be kind to yourself. The world is not finished with you.